Hello and welcome to the lecture on assignment operators. So if you go to the material folder, assignment operators, let's open up the deliverables and the logical flow for this section. So part of this, we will understand how to use assignment operators. So we'll be developing 3 examples. First, we'll assign a value 10 to a variable which is called as marks as a variable. Then we'll use the operator. The second example, we will learn how to use subtraction and also multiplication. Then finally we'll learn about divide and modulus. Okay, part of this will create 3 files. So let's go ahead and look into this. So first file is assignment operators 1.php. So I'm going to create this file, save the file, and I'll use ww operators. Okay, so let's first define what are the operators that we will use here. To save time, I'll try to copy the assignments here. I've just copied over the operators that we'll be looking in this lecture. Okay. So part of this, we will use assignment operator, that is equal to. Then we have plus is equal to, which is an add assignment operator. We'll also use dot is equal to. Then we'll use subtraction, multiplication, divide and modulus. Okay, let's quickly do some examples on this. So first we will assign a value 10 to the variable which is called as marks, right? So we'll say marks equal to, so equal to is basically an assignment operator, and then we'll assign a value to it. Then we'll define another variable, name variable, which will say string variable to variable $name. And we'll give some name to it. Okay, then we'll create the operator, start using the operators now. So first we will use the plus is equal to, which is an add operation, right? So we'll define a counter is equal to 1, and we'll say counter plus 1. Okay, there's one way to increment a counter by adding plus 1, and there's another way to increment the counter using that operator. So you can say plus is equal to $counter. Okay, so you can use this way or you can use this way. It actually means counter is equal to counter plus 1. There's a short notation for using this kind of syntax. And you can also say marks plus is equal to 10. So whatever the marks value, it's increment by 10. Okay, so let's print this values. So we'll say counter So let's quickly run this. So counter is basically increment by 1. Okay, and then marks is basically increment by 10. Okay, so here the counter value is 2, right? Counter is counter plus 1, so 1 becomes 2. So 2 is added back to the counter. So let's verify this. So that's 4 because it's 1 when you assigned it. Then you increment it by 1, that becomes 2, and 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, and then 10, the initial value of marks is 10, then 10 plus 10 is 20. Okay, that's what the 20 coming up here. Let's do the assignment operator for string variable. So instead of printing this, okay, I'm going to print this first, echo. Imagine you have first name and last name, right? Let's say you have John, and you want to add the comma to it. You want to have the same notation like John comma Smith. So you can say comma here, space, but you can use the dot operator here. Means to the same variable after John you are assigning this string. Okay, you can keep on adding this, right? So this means you're trying to attach some strings to this variable using the dot is equal to operator. It's like the same plus is equal to which you increment. This is the same string notation which is used to combine the strings to the actual existing string. So it's basically whatever value is in the name, to that variable these strings are attached in the last. Okay, so let's print this. Well, the output looks exactly the same. That's because we are attaching the strings to the variable. So that's how you basically attach string to a variable and you use plus is equal to increment the counter. Okay, so let's move on. Let's look at the second sample. We'll use subtraction and multiplication. So I'm going to call this sample 1. I'm going to copy this to our code and let's start doing sample 2. So we'll use the same counter just to save time. I'm going to copy paste this code and we're going to use subtraction here. It works exactly the same. It's just the operator will do the subtraction here. Okay, then we'll use multiplication. So for multiplication, so we'll define a variable called square and then we're going to say square multiply equal to square. So this is basically multiplying the same value. This means the square variable is multiplied by the square variable itself. Okay, then we're going to echo this out. Okay, let's quickly look into this. So we have 0 and 100. 0 is because 1 minus 1 is 0. Then 10 multiplied by 10 is 100. Okay, let's look at the third example. I'm going to copy over this and we'll do the sample 3. Sample 3, we're going to use two operators here, divide and modulus. Modulus is remainders. So let's look into that first. So we'll use a variable called, so let's define some comments here. Say use this operator divide by 2. So if you want to divide 50 by 2, this is just a variable name, right? You can say this variable divide by 2. So this is almost equal to, so instead of saying divide by 2, you can use the shorthand notation of divide equal to, then we can print this out. Then we'll use the remainder, the modulus. And we'll say remainder modulus is equal to 2. So we have two cases. One is the divide and one is the modulus. So modulus basically 50 divided by 2. What is the remainder? That remainder will be in this variable. Okay, so let's run this. So let's save this first. So 25 is basically 50 divided by 2. That's 25, and 0 is the remainder for when you divide 50 by 2. Okay, so we have used the operators here, we have used modulus, divide, multiplication, subtraction, then we have used the plus and the dot operator. Okay, so these are basically called as assignment operators. Okay, so that's all for this lecture. I'll see you in the next one.